while you're on the website, just scroll down and click on join email list and send your email address, and we will add you to the distribution. If you'd like to reach out to Council President, please feel free to call our office. The telephone number is 313-224-1245. And our office hours are from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Yes, we are still working from home at this time. However, we still are accessing our phone calls, and we are returning the calls as quickly as we receive them. Next week, we are going to be live from the table on Wednesday. Mark your calendars for that at 2 p.m. We have our spiritual and mental wellness that's going to take place on Thursday at 5. Mark your calendars. And again, we're going to have our coffee and conversation next Friday. So tune in and make sure that you are watching for those events, because they are going to be great events. You will also be able to share those events. You can do a Facebook Live party and share it with your listening audience as well. I see Council President is joining us, and I am, as soon as Council President.
Good morning, good morning.
Okay, Council President, we're having a little difficulty seeing you.
Can you see me now?
Yes, Council President, good morning.
Good morning to all, good morning to all. How's everyone doing this wonderful morning? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we're good, Madam President. How are you?
I am blessed by the best. Now, you know, Curtis said it's always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you.
It's always good to see you.
Good morning, ma'am.
I was just saying the other day, I had not seen you in quite some time, and how I really miss seeing my buddy Curtis.
Well, Madam President, if you allow me to sit at the curb and see you, or come by your window and wave, however you like, I would love to just give you a virtual hug.
Now, you know it ain't about no come by no window. You know, if you see me, you got to actually see me. You know, I don't roll with no come by no window now. I understand we doing the coronavirus and everything, but this is not the hospital where you got to put the sign up. This is for real. So you know, I'm not gonna play that. How's everybody else doing?
Doing very well, Madam President.
Just fine, ma'am.
That is ever so wonderful. Now I see y'all looking awfully lovely there. Awfully lovely there. All of you all are looking awfully lovely. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with you all. One did not know, I am your Detroit City Council President, Brenda Jones. Some call me the citizen's voice. And you are joining us this morning for coffee, tea, water, whatever, and conversations. And as Linda already said, we are live on Facebook at facebook.com/CP Brenda Jones. And in case you all didn't know, let me tell you what's going on. June is Pride Month. And I am joined by some awesome people, an awesome group of people, to talk about the LGBTQ community in Detroit. And my guests, Corp, Dani, Woods. Hi there, how are ya?
Good morning, ma'am. I'm fine. How are you?
I am blessed by the best.
I see you're catching the light.
Hey. I have a big giveaway. I am joining in with the city of Ecorse and giving out food and produce and all of those good things. And so we just want to make sure nobody goes hungry. And I said, you know what? I have my buddies on this morning, and I have to at least be on to talk to my buddies. All right, all right. And then we have Curtis. Curtis he got his cup. He drinking his whatever it is. Then we have Jerron Totten. Did I pronounce your name right?
It's Jerron.
Names now.
Jerron Totten, yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jerron, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Denise, and I can
right.
that Poindexter. I ain't gonna mess that one up.
That's right. Thank you, Madam President. Good morning to all, and God bless.
Good morning.
God bless. God bless. Okay, now, Chester-Bey.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Y'all know me. Y'all know I can mess up some names, okay? I'm going to start off by asking you all to all just tell us a little about your organization and what you do. Come on, start off. Now, you know I got to start off with Curtis because that's my buddy. And I can tell you everything Curtis do because I done been a part of that. So come on, Curtis, tell us about your organization and what's going on over there.
Well, just briefly, LGBT Detroit is the largest Black founded and Black-led LGBT organization in North America. We're proud to be in the city of Detroit. We are an education advocacy organization. And one of our big successes that we're celebrating right now is the 25th anniversary of Hotter Than July. Hotter Than July is the longest Black Pride celebration in the world, held right here in Detroit. It's going to be held the last week of July, and this year it's going to be a virtual experience. So if you just find Hotter Than July on Facebook, on the website, you'll learn all about it.
Hey, Curtis, what I want you to do also, just in case somebody does not know what LGBTQ stands for, help them out a little. Tell them about what LGBTQ stands for.
So frequently you will hear someone identify themselves as LGBT or LGBTQ or other identities, but most popular, a person who identifies as LGBT is a person who's a member of the lesbian, gay, bi, and transgender community. And so I am LGBT. If you are an ally, you would fit into that community too. And so that's what the L, the G, the B, and the T stands for.
All right. So in case you all did not know what's going on, you know now. And now I'm gonna let Dana Woods Corpora tell us about your organization.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Corporal Dani Woods. I am the LGBT liaison for the, right here, Detroit Police Department. I am somewhat of the bridge between the LGBT community and the police department. Very fortunate enough to have worked with everyone on this panel, which is a bonus. And in those different spaces, we have collaborated on creating change here in the city of Detroit. We have actually become the blueprint, if you will, for the interaction with LGBT community and law enforcement. We're sought out by other cities and states nationwide, not just, no, as a matter of fact, internationally, because I've had the pleasure of working with people from other countries that really want to establish the same practices that we have here. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what we do collaboratively. Personally, I am in constant connection with detectives and investigators for any LGBT related incidents within the city and sometimes around the state because again, people really want to change how their departments interact with community members. And I know we stopped at T, but we also want to include the queer and plus community as well. Also, I provide training for not just law enforcement entities, but businesses and organizations based in cultural competency regarding our LGBTQ plus community, sensitivity and diversity. And it's the only Michigan certified training. So we're really happy and proud to provide that. And when there becomes a situation or issue, I have community members such as these panelists to reach out to help connect some of these dots, because it's no secret our relationships haven't been the best, but I can say that we have been on an uptick since 2000 and maybe 14 or so, at least being able to dialogue to remedy some of these issues and at least build a mutual trust and respect for each other. Not claiming perfection, but we're on our way.
All right, Corporal. I think, we're going to get there. Everybody's going to have, got to the point where you have that mutual respect, but you're going to build that relationship sooner than you actually think. So we're just going to watch and wait and see what's going on.
All right.
All right, Madam Poindexter, how about telling us what's going on in your way?
Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share space with you all. So my name is Janice Poindexter, and I have the honor and the privilege of being the transgender specialist / victim advocate for Equality Michigan. But I'm also the vice president of Trans Sisters of Color Project, and that's an organization here that was started almost 10 years ago because of the murder, harm, and mistreatment of trans women of color, particularly Black trans women here in the city of Detroit. I also am the proud co-chair of the Fair and Equal Michigan Initiative. And our mission and our goal is to give all Michiganders the complete honor and respect with regards to their humanity first, in the sense of amending the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to cover sexual orientation and gender identity.
All right. And I see Jerome shaking that head. Tell us what's going on your way.
Well, first, thank you, Madam President, so much for asking us to be a part of this conversation. I'm very grateful for that. As a North Carolina native, now a Detroit resident, I've had such an amazing time in the role that I take at LGBT Detroit. I do serve as the social outreach coordinator and legislative advocacy specialist at LGBT Detroit. I'm also the project coordinator of Hotter Than July, which is Detroit Black Pride. And so LGBT Detroit has not missed a beat, Madam President, while we've been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We have maintained certain programming that has gone virtual since COVID-19. I remember we were in the middle of doing a progress report to one of our funders regarding our Brother to Brother program. And we had data on things that we had done up until March. And we were at a standstill about what we would be doing now that COVID-19 had happened, what we were going to tell our funder. And so we came up with a virtual program called the Brother to Brother Lockdown. Every Thursday, the Brother to Brother Lockdown airs on Facebook Live. to let people know that we can stay connected while we are adjusting to this new normal, to let people know of various ways to keep themselves occupied, mentally and physically fit, and overall just generally connected with everyone else so that they don't feel isolated. Additionally, Hotter Than July will be virtual this year, happening July 24th through July 26th, streamed on Facebook Live and on YouTube. You will hear, as we celebrate our 25th anniversary on Friday, you'll hear from key contributors over the last 25 years from this project. And on the 25th, what would normally be our Palmer Park picnic, Madam President, I believe you've made some appearances at our Palmer Park picnic.
Yeah.
You will see a virtual picnic occur that will be live streamed. We're
Wow.
so happy to have national recording artist Sybil being featured on that picnic, DJ Romeo, DJ Tony Peoples, and other local talent. And then we'll conclude on Sunday. Sunday, we have our worship service, one of the things that has been uninterrupted over the last 25 years. We will have our Hotter Than July brunch aired on Facebook Live. That's another thing that has been uninterrupted for 25 years. And then we'll conclude with the Hotter Than July Ball. This year, it's called the Voters Ball. And we're so excited to be able to have Michigan Democratic Party Chair LaVorna Barnes making a guest appearance at that ball. And so a lot of exciting things are happening at LGBT Detroit. We're so happy to have been able to continue the work that we do. We're extremely blessed in the age of COVID. We have 7 full-time staffers. And in the age of COVID, we have not had to lay off, furlough, fire, anything like that, not one staffer. And so the work is able to continue to be done. And so we're very thankful about that.
Wow. Okay. My question was going to be, what's going on with Hotter Than July this year? And you gave us those answers without me even asking you. And that's amazing to see. We've been doing everything virtual. We're having this call virtual, but then to actually see Hotter Than July actually happen virtual, that's going to be amazing. That's going to be amazing. When you talk about technology, who would have ever thought? I know I wouldn't have, in my wildest dreams, would have thought that this day would come. Do you guys remember when we carried around our little pager and we thought we was doing something with that pager? Oh my God. I mean, I don't even think if somebody come up with a pager that's not a doctor now, if you ain't no doctor and you got a pager, somebody might throw you in the alley somewhere, and say, what's up on that? And can you, I was thinking, I said, how the older folk used to tell us about things and we would look at them like they was crazy. Can you imagine 10 to 15 years from now when we're talking to people telling them about how we used to carry our beeper and they gonna look at us carry your what? So when you think about how technology has changed, who would have ever thought of a day like this when we would be having virtual meetings? You talking about virtual Hotter Than July. Wow, it's amazing. It is amazing. I can't even wait to see what might be occurring in the next 15 years and how we might be operating in the next 15 years with technology. It's going to be very interesting. Yep, and we didn't hear from you. So come on, let's hear it from Chester-Bey. Tell us what's going on your way.
All right. Thank you, Madam President, for having me on and having me with these amazing panelists. My name is Rhiannon Chester-Bey. It's Rihanna like the singer, spelt like the Fleetwood Mac song. Right? So interesting name history, but I serve as the Director of Operations and Programmatic Strategy with the Detroit Equity Action Lab, which is a training and capacity building organization for those who are fighting to end structural racism. So that's what we do. We run a year-long fellowship. It's almost a year-long fellowship where we have discussions around systems of power and around racial equity and structural racism and how that shows up. And we strategize together as a community on ways to dismantle that and to shift policies and shift culture. So that's what we do, which means that we've successfully run 4 cohorts. So we have around 120 alumni in the city that are grassroots to grass tops that are addressing racial equity in a variety of ways. I'm also a proud partner with the organization or a group called Healing by Choice, which is a circle of women of color healing practitioners. We range from acupuncturists to naturopathic doctors to Reiki practitioners to meditation coaches. And so one of my other passions is really healing and energy work. And so I'm really proud to partner with Healing by Choice. And we work a lot with grassroots organizations around the city that are trying to kind of deal with the trauma that everyone has kind of experienced over time. And from that, I've kind of started my own company, which is called Undercurrent Healing Arts, where I also focus on energy work and healing in the form of Reiki energy and crystal protection kits and things like that. So.
All right, you got it going on. Y'all all got it going on. Y'all have so much happening. I see that pretty gold cup you got going on there. Shut up. And then Madam Poindexter over there eating and ain't sharing no food with us.
Dani just texted me. She just texted me like, I'm coming over there to get in that plate.
That's right. Ain't sharing no food. Got the pretty cup. I'm stuck with the white styrofoam cup. So, I guess it is what it is today. So, what else is going on in the community that we need to know about that we do not know about? Because I know we've been pretty much underground since the coronavirus, and no one has been out, and it's not been a lot of communication going on. So I'm sure you all can let us know what's going on that we do not know about. Go ahead.
I would love to open up, if you will. I would love to kind of start a conversation, particularly around communities of color and Black communities, as far as supporting hate crime protections. Right now, especially where we are in our climate, as far as racial tensions and just where we are in the country, I think that people misunderstand or mistake our plight in seeking these protections, the non-discrimination protection and the hate crime laws. Those aren't protections that just add or help protect the LGBTQ community. We can very easily here in the state of Michigan have a situation like Ahmaud Arbery's. The reason that his case was able to be so torn around and swept up under the rug for so long is because it was not prosecuted properly. It should be prosecuted under a hate crime, because when you look at the facts of the incident, the reason that they started to chase him and hunt him down was because they said he fit the description of a Black robber. So his race was the catalyst that made you chase him, and then you killed him. If his case was prosecuted properly under hate crime law, we would have all known about it. It would have been a matter of public record, and this wouldn't have come out almost 4 months later. And I need our communities of color, particularly our Black communities, to really understand the importance of that. When you support those initiatives or those laws, it isn't about a gay agenda. It isn't about us trying to make the world, the city, or the state gay. It's because we cannot slice the pie of protections. If we say that we're going to support a hate crime law, it has to protect everybody, and therefore we add value to everyone's life. We can't cover these people with this, but leave these people out. And the inner cultural hate is something that we really have to discuss, because with this Black Lives Matter movement on the forefront as it is and should be, a lot of Black LGBTQ community members feel left out. They don't feel centered. They don't feel included. And I don't know if we all know, but for over the past 10 years, out of all the transgender murder cases, 73% of those were Black.
Mm-hmm. So let me yes. You know, I agree with a lot and mostly everything that you have said, because a lot of times people don't want to classify hate crime as hate crime, and that's exactly what it should be classified as. So I definitely agree with what you have said. And I think that
Oh,
and I did with something with what it is because their minds are closed. And we have to, you know, like they say, call a spade a spade. That's what we have to start doing, calling a spade a spade, and calling what something actually is what it actually is. And so I definitely agree with you. I think I cut someone off. Corporate Dana Woods, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to really add a couple things, but definitely thank you for bringing that up, Janice. Any crime that is motivated by a bias needs to be, well, that person needs to be held accountable for that. I would just like to mention that, you know, I know we all wear a lot of hats, but as a Black woman, okay, who is or identifies, however you want to spell it out, as a lesbian whose chosen profession is law enforcement, I have a responsibility with all of those hats to create change and ensure the safety of not just myself and my family, but my extended family, which is the LGBTQ plus community, the citizens of Detroit, and, you know, the rest of my people near and far. There is a societal outrage right now, which is totally understood, because when I take this uniform off, I am still a Black woman. And so I understand and stand with, you know, all of the protests in, you know, amending policies and all, you know, reform and racial injustice is totally understood. It's always my hope, though, that when we're in these moments, after the dust settles, that people still stay the course to ensure that the changes and the outrages that we are so frustrated about right now, you know, actually change. And that has a lot to do with the people at the table, you know, the people that are making the decisions. You know, everybody may not want to sit in a certain seat, but you have the power to put that person in a seat. So it is imperative that people use their, not just their voice, but also their pen or pencil when they're going to the polls to ensure that whomever is in that seat has their best interest in mind. Because, you know, before it goes to DC, it starts in Detroit with our local government. And so it is imperative that we definitely stand together and ensure that whomever is sitting at that table, if we're not right next to them, they have our best interest at hand. And know that, and I don't want to take all the time, but I also want to say that it has been a blessing for the department and Detroit citizens to have the relationship that we have when it comes to community relations. We are definitely a department that interacts with our community. We don't talk at them, we talk to them. And we allow for our citizens to come into the room, sit at the table, because we want to know we're servicing you. So what do you want? What do you need from your law enforcement, from your police officers, and, you know, from all of the programs and different organizations that are, you know, olive branches of the department. Most of them include or are made up of more citizens than they are of police, which is, you know, a blessing in and of itself. Again, not claiming perfection, not at all, because we've had some issues and we still have them, and we're probably gonna have them, you know. But when we continue to do things like this and continue to dialogue and show the human side of who we are, you know, and, you know, we wear the uniform, but the uniform doesn't wear us. You know, we're still people, and we get locked into, you know, that one uniform does something, they're all, you know, and it's unfortunate, but it happens. And, you know, we have to stand there and take it. But this department stands with, you know, the cause. I'll say that. And the chief has made that very clear.
Let me say this to you, Corporal, and to all of you. It's unfortunate that people let their titles go to their head. Everybody have a title. I tell people that all the time. Even the bum that's out on the street has a title. And so a title doesn't make you, you make the title.
Amen.
And, you know, often when I see people and they say, well, what do I call you? You know what? My mama named me Brenda. And Brenda is okay. I don't have no problem with the name that my mother gave me. You don't have to call me president, because I ain't always been no president. You don't have to call me council member, because I ain't always been no council member. And I tell people, if one thing is for sure, everything that goes up eventually comes down. And everything you stepped on while you was going up, you got to step across when you come down. And you better be careful, because if you didn't step right when you was going up, you might get tripped when you try to come down. So you got to be real careful. And I say that also to say discrimination on any part is bad. Discriminating against anybody. And I can remember, and I'm trying to remember how far back, because this is, I'm telling you, I've not always been a city council member. I have not always been the president of the city council. And prior to this life, I've had done, wore several hats, as you said. I was a union member and then a union president. And I can remember, and I want to say it was in the maybe 84. And I was the secretary of the CWA, which is Communication Workers of America. I was the secretary of the Minority Caucus. And the Minority Caucus included everyone. And we had a conference here right in the city of Detroit, and it was at the Pontchartrain. And I recall this just as it was yesterday. And someone walked up to me, and I knew this particular individual, and we'd worked together. And she said to me, can I tell you something? And I said, yeah. And she said, I'm gay. And I said, okay. And she said, well, you act like it doesn't bother you. I said, why should it? And she said, that's exactly why I'm saying it to you, because everybody is not going to be able to accept the fact that I'm gay. And I realized and I understand that you're not going to treat me any different because I'm gay. And I have had people find out that I was gay and treated me totally different because I was gay. And I thought, how ridiculous. How ridiculous is it that you're going to treat somebody different because of what and how they chose to be? That is ridiculous, and that is discrimination in any
Madam Chair.
form. That's no different in discriminating against somebody because they're black as it is discriminating against somebody because they're gay. And that is ridiculous to me and has always been ridiculous. And I'm going to take it a step further, because y'all know I am who I am and I call things the way it is. I said to my staff the other day, I said, a lot of people don't realize this, but your best friend is going to be somebody gay, because they are going to be loyal to you no matter what. I'm telling you, I have found that out in my life. They're going to be more loyal to you than probably anybody you have ever seen. That loyalty does not waver, you know. And and Curtis will tell you, and I probably know Curtis better than I know any of you. Curtis and I have shared an awesome relationship since we met. I don't discriminate against and have never. It's always been, what can I do to help, to stop this discrimination, to stop these hate crimes, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And when you think about the state of Georgia does not even have a hate crime law, like you said, we can wear shirts, we can dress stuff up, but at the end of the day, what policies are you going to make? And that's what's going to make the changes. We can walk all day, we can march all day, but we're going to have to make some policy changes. And that's what's going to have to happen at the end of the day. And we can make them on the local level, but they also got to be made on the federal level to ensure that every state and every municipality is protecting the people that are in their states and in their municipalities. I'm sorry, I'm like you. I can talk forever about this, and I can talk about it from experiences that I've had with my friends that are a part of the LGBTQ community. That's what I can talk about. I don't have to be a person that is in the community or of the community, because I'm right here with you. And I know what you're experiencing from dealing and talking to people, and it has to stop. And it's unfortunate that somebody had to lose their life again, not for the first time, but again, for us to continue to have these conversations. It's ridiculous.
That's right.
It's ridiculous.
And we got to go deeper. We've got to even go deeper in our own culture, because along with the policy and legislative change, there also has to be a cultural shifting as far as those things, not to just acknowledge them, but then go to our families, go to our brothers, go to our sisters, and really do the work and really talk and connect about the importance. Like, if we not all free, then we not free. And we can't continue to place value on certain Black and brown lives and leave out the others, but consider ourselves these fighters for movements and standing up for people when you're really creating casualties.
And the one thing I always say is, an injustice to one is an injustice to all. And we have to wake up and recognize and realize that. I've seen someone else's hand up while I was preaching, talking. I mean, but it is what it is. And we have to just call a spade a spade. Who wanted to say, all right, now you said you wasn't gonna take all the time up, Corporate. You like me, we taking all the time. No, Corporate said, excuse me for a minute, I'm gone for a minute. Go ahead, Curtis.
I just wanted to just commend you on your viewpoint of allyship. As we've mentioned before, the LGBTQ plus community has a number of alphabets in it. The A is allyship. And you described allyship in a way that I believe we, your little brothers, sons, and daughters, understood and navigate towards your energy in that. Unfortunately, though we know that Michigan is a fairer, emotionally fairer state, we still have a lot of people in positions of power who are not allies. And so, I'm interested in always a space where people who may have a son or daughter, a coworker, a neighbor who is a member of the community who doesn't necessarily know what that means to have a relationship with that, to get into a space where they could talk freely about their feelings about what is that relationship with people like us. You are someone that we would naturally gravitate to, because as people identify as LGBT, we don't know where safe is. And so we're looking for people like you with that energy to gravitate towards. I think what's great about LGBT Detroit as an organization is that Detroiters have created a space where that can happen, where it is where people who may not understand what it is to be like us will come together and speak freely, particularly in a cultural style that is affirming and relevant. Many times we don't know what to say. I just got off the phone yesterday with somebody who didn't know how to address community. And this is another Black woman, and she and I are friends. And all she wanted to do is make sure that she was compassionate and understanding. And she is, she already is. And so what's great about the work that we do collectively on your panel is that we have an understanding that we know that we are all residents of Detroit, that we all want to live safely, and we all want to do what we can to make sure that our engagement with family and neighbors is a prosperous and safe one. And so what you may not be aware of is your influence as a person that will provide safety and security. That is a privilege, and that's very special. And I just really commend you on that. There are some parts of the nation that does not have leadership like this. And so I applaud you.
I want to lift up visibility. I think visibility is very important. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the work that I do is not even related to it's related to, but it's not in the confinement of my job, right? And so I've been involved in social justice organizing since I was 14. So I've been doing various things for a long time. I've been a protester, a rabble rouser, advocate for legislative change. So I've been, on every position on the like social justice spectrum. And so, but the most important work that I'm doing right now is talking to my neighbors. That's the biggest thing that I'm doing. And so my partner and I live together. And so they see us together living. They don't have like explicit confirmation that we're a lesbian couple, although it should be when I yell to the front yard, "Hey, babe." But I've been having conversations because a lot of the discrimination is like hunkered down in some like deep beliefs, like some deep religious beliefs, some deep, also some deep trauma. A lot of times, like we've heard that saying, like hurt people, right? And so I think when people can dehumanize other people is because they've been dehumanized themselves. And so, but having conversations with my neighbors about attraction, just bringing it down, because I had a conversation with one of my neighbors and he was like, "Oh yeah, well, I think you choose." And I said, "I don't choose because attraction is natural." And so we had a conversation about attraction and talked about our childhoods and the things that we were drawn to. And I asked him if he made a choice. And he was like, well, I was 3. And I was like, exactly, so was I. So, that started to shift how he related to me and my partner, how he related to my community. And so I think those type of things have bigger impacts than we give them credit for. It's the small conversations. It's the moments when we get to recognize the humanity of each other. And I think those are like the precious, like I love those moments where a light bulb goes off for people. And it's like, oh, okay, I get to see different. And so I think that's some of our important work that doesn't necessarily go recognized as our work.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's just so much people just don't realize. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you all for everything that you do. I don't want the time to slip away and we don't have an opportunity to talk to the viewers or the ones that are on Facebook if they have any questions or any concerns, because I know we can sit, this is our first conversation like this, but it truly will not be our last conversation. And I'm looking forward to Hotter Than July, where I will be on with you all, having a bar as well. Do we have any callers on the line?
Council President, I don't see any callers on the line, and I don't see any questions on Facebook at this time.
So that gives us an opportunity to continue our conversation and give people more information of stuff that they do not know. And
That's
so
right.
who wants to jump in? Just jump in. You don't need, y'all know me. You don't need me to tell you to jump in. Just jump in and do your thing. And none of y'all are, so don't try to act like it, okay?
Well, Council President,
I'm happy to have this opportunity to connect because I tell you, in the city of Detroit, there's a lot of conversations that are had around inclusion and diversity and really, living up to those terminologies. But what we see from our leadership is not a real investment. And actually, I tell you personally, we've been lied to a couple of times. And so that kind of diminishes the hope and the trust over time. So this connection and what you said as far as investment, as far as follow-up, that was one of the things that I wrote down, because we can sit on here and talk all morning or definitely talk until it's time for dinner. But what's the follow-up? What's the action plan? What's the kind of end goal and result to sharing information, sharing this platform, but also connecting for what?
And so let me say this. It's one thing I can tell you for sure. And Corporal Woods know me, Curtis know me. If I don't do anything, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd rather shut up than lie to you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not going to lie to you. If it's something, y'all know me. And y'all know I call out what I need to call out. Now, they know me very well. And so whatever I can do, wherever I am, to assist on changing and making a change is what I will do. I commend the Detroit Police Department for what they do, because it has not always been like that. And Corporal know it has not always been like that. So I truly commend the Detroit Police Department. Curtis knows, if Curtis calls me and say, Councilwoman, I need you to do, I'm doing it. There is nothing that you can ask me to do, regardless to where I am or what I'm doing, that I will not try to do when it comes to making policy changes, when it comes to making ordinances and changing the laws and connecting with who I need to connect with, because a lot of times you can't always get done by yourself what needs to get done. And so what's important is collaborating and building relationships. And that's one thing that I try to do. I don't always agree with the people that I have to work with, but the one thing I do is try to not piss them off, because I might need them for something. And so I try to build those coalitions. That's right, Curtis. You know what's up. I try to build those coalitions. I tell them how I feel and what I feel. Sometimes I have to do it in a polite manner, a professional manner. I have to do it in. But sometimes I even have to pull them behind closed doors and say, look, let me tell you now. And take it a little away from the professionalism that you know of me, but I do it behind closed doors. Because we don't always agree, and sometimes we have to show that part that other people don't need to see to say this is what we need to get done. So whatever it is that I can do to assist in making the changes, you can believe I will be doing it. Because fortunately, we have been fortunate here, and we have not had the situations with police brutality that they have had in other states in such a long time. And hopefully we won't have them. And if we continue to work together and do what we need to do and continue to keep the community, regardless to where they are and what they're doing, involved, we will not have this situation, because that makes a big difference when you include people. When you say, let's have this conversation, I'm talking to you and not at you. Because when you're grown, you don't need somebody to talk at you. You need somebody to talk to you and to involve you in making the decisions that need to be made. And that's what I can tell you I will continue to do regardless, no matter what. If we don't agree, I'll tell you where we don't agree. And let's try to work out the differences. And that's what you call adults. And that's what you call trying to work it out to make it happen for everybody that's involved. And that's what I'll continue to do. So you guys, call me. Let me know what it is I can do. Let me know where I can help. Because I don't want to see hate crime occur. Any place, not just in the city of Detroit, not just in the state of Michigan, but I want it to stop in the United States of America. I want it to stop in the country. I want it to stop everywhere. There is no reason why we should be having this conversation in 2020 when we've been dealing with the same issues for the past, I can't tell you how many years, way past 20.
That's right.
It's crazy. Go ahead.
So, Council President, I wanted to kind of lift a thought up as we talk about the climate that we're currently in. My hope for my African American community, my hope for my LGBT plus community, is that we move beyond coming to our leaders, because let's be very clear, everyone isn't fortunate enough to have a Brenda Jones as their city council president. So beyond coming to our leaders and saying, what are you going to do for me? There are some things and some action steps that we need to take ourselves as a community. And I'm so happy that LGBT Detroit is a solutions-based company. We have, as we have moved and progressed in this conversation from George Floyd, and then that evolved into a conversation about the Black community and including the LGBT plus community, and then realizing our financial power, things that we can do to support Black communities, Black businesses. And so I wanted to mention that on June 26th, LGBT Detroit will hold a conversation with the Small Business Administration, where we will talk about how we can build Black wealth, because that is a significant part of maintaining or building Black power in these types of climates. And so just realizing that there are, beyond making those asks of our leaders of what they can do, thinking about what we can do as a community, whether it's having conversations with our neighbors, making sure that we get out to vote every single election. These are things that we can do beyond just saying to our leaders who may or may not have our best interests, what can you do for me? How can you remedy the situation? There are things that we need to be doing now to remedy the situation to improve our conditions.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Corporal.
Oh no, I just wanted to thank Jerron for offering that, and also just state that support in numbers speaks volumes. You know, even in creating space, you know, for us and our businesses and our organizations. Also, you know, to Janice's point, you know, talking till we're blue in the face, the action has to come. And I'm a very result-driven person. So when we have these conversations, there needs to be at least an idea of a solution in order to improve or amend or whatever, you know, the situation is. And with that is support, you know, is cool to see the one face, but to see 50, 100 faces, it's like, oh, wow, they mean business. So that support is paramount as well.
I agree with you, and that is definitely important. And so give that date again that you'll be meeting. Is it going to be a group thing, or is it going to be just a conversation where everyone can be a part of that conversation?
So this will be live streamed to Facebook. Everyone can be a part of this conversation. We've been very fortunate to have been asked by the Small Business Administration to lead this. Actually, myself, Rhiannon will be a part of this conversation, and we'll have a representative from the Small Business Administration to talk about some of the services and resources that they have for us to build that Black wealth, so that when we go to a grocery store that really doesn't treat us well, maybe there's a Black LGBT plus person who has a dream of opening a grocery store. They can come to that event to find out how the Small Business Administration can assist with government funding, them opening up their small business.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that's good that you all have put that together, because it's nothing like owning your own and having your own. And I think we had that conversation. We've had that conversation before. I have owned my own. I have had my own, and I encourage everyone to try to open that door for yourself. Open that door for yourself. Don't wait on someone else to try to open it for you. Open that door. Start opening that door. So thank you for that. Our time is winding down, and I'm glad again, because I can tell you, Council President Brenda Jones has served on Detroit City Council for the last 15 years. So I won't be there forever. And you know I won't be there forever. And I want to be able to assist wherever I am. Even if I'm just sitting in my house, I want to just be able to assist. And I will be assisting however I can. You will hear my voice wherever I am. There will be action taken from me wherever I am. You can bet and you can count on that. Sometimes people looked at me and said, are you gay? Are you part of the LGBT community? Like I said, we got to be included, and we have to include ourselves with everybody. How do you put yourself in somebody else's shoes if you don't know how they walking and how they feel, because you're not trying to have a conversation with them about how they feel? You're not trying to be where they are to know what's going on. And that's what's important to me. That's what's important to me. And so I just want to thank you all for being a part of this panel today. Thank you all for being here with us today. I appreciate all of you all. I appreciate everything that you all do. even when you call me to do something, I appreciate that. Because if you didn't call me to do something, I would feel like I ain't needed. And who wants to be in this world feeling like nobody needs them? I think nobody like that feeling. Am I right? Everybody wants to be needed or feel like they need it sometimes. So thank you again for being a part of this panel. Thank you for being here with us today. And again, I look forward to Hotter Than July. We did not have any callers, and if they're there now to ask us questions, it's a little too late. So we'll hear from them the next time. We'll get their answers to them, or they can always call, and we will connect them to any of the panelists that they need to be connected to, because we got connections and we know how to connect them to them. So you can call our office at 313-224-1245 if you have any questions or need to know how to reach anyone. I want to just say that next week, our co-host for our Coffee and Conversations will be Councilmember Janae Ayers. We will have an outstanding panel of lawyers, judges, and activists who will be on to discuss the criminal justice reform. I also will be participating in the city's Juneteenth celebration on that day. Before that, on June 18th at 5 p.m., Judge Greg Mathis, Dr. Ken Harris, and 7 others will join me for a special discussion, Black Voices on Black Lives, Perspectives, and Calls to Action to combat social and racial injustice. We will have a discussion on that. This Sunday, I will be a guest speaker for the virtual citywide 2020 graduation that I am co-sponsoring in partnership with WGPR Radio. Please follow me on Facebook to learn about all of my activities. Until then, I say to everyone, be safe. Restaurants are open. Hair salons, y'all. Nail places. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Open on Monday. But until then, let me say to everyone, when you're out amongst the public, wear your mask. I keep mine handy. I also keep a pack of them just in case somebody don't have a mask and they happen to be in my space or I'm in their space, whichever one. I ask them, would you like a mask? Because I have them and I want everybody to have one because I want them to stay safe. I want their families to be safe and I want to be safe. My doctor said to me, you've already tested positive, so you don't have to worry about getting it again. I say, really? You think? Okay. And I, because I know that it's so much changing and they're still in the process of trying to figure it out. And while you're trying to figure it out, tell me I done had it for a second time. Because one time they said kids couldn't get it. Remember they said kids couldn't get it?
Yeah.
And the death of one of our own men and women in blue and firefighters, little 5-year-older, got it and had to deal with it. So I'm wearing my mask. And I say to y'all, wear your mask.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep that mask on. And if you don't have one, find me and I'll make sure you get a free one. You ain't even got to pay $5 on the corner or $10 on the corner. I am trying to find sponsors that will give me even more to make sure everybody have a mask that I encounter. And if somebody knows somebody that don't have one, they can say, Council President, I'm around people all the time. Can you give me some masks that I can hold on to? Because I want everybody to live and be safe.
Sure.
So until then, I think we've ran out of time and we've passed time. I want to thank Team Jones for what they do. I couldn't do it without my team. I love them and I appreciate them. I want
That's
to
right.
thank our interpreter who has been interpreting his heart out today, and he's always interpreting his heart out. They do an outstanding job. So thank you so much, Chris, for everything that you do. Again, thank you, panelists, because we could not have had this conversation to talk about inclusion, to talk about hate crimes, without having such a great panelist like you all. So thank you all for what you do each and every day of your lives. I thank you. I appreciate it, because I know it ain't no stopping. You always at it.
Right.
So I thank you. Even when corporal don't have their uniform on, corporal is doing
That's right.
corporal thing. So I know, I thank all of you all for what you do. Until we meet again, until we see each other again, stay safe. Let's keep it real. Let's continue to do what we do. I love you all.
Love you,
God bless
I love you
everybody.
all.
God bless.
And we soon. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Peace.
God